But opposition parties and civil society groups inside Mozambique are calling on the government there to announce the official death toll from post-election protests. Activists are adamant that more people have been killed than the reported 18. Police have also been accused of being heavy-handed with protesters. Newzroom Afrika's Junior Khumalo is inside Mozambique and joins us now. Junior, good morning. A lot of concerns about the human impact and the human toll in this post-election environment. Tensions, we understand, are still high. Talk to us about what you've observed over today and yesterday in the aftermath of that major protest march.
Indeed, Iman, the tensions are still a bit high in this country, but they are much better than yesterday, because yesterday we remember that that was the day when we expected those mass protests basically to take place across the country, and we did see a lot of citizens turning out basically in their numbers to protest those election results that were announced last month, at the end of last month. There were a lot of casualties that were reported, but also these protests have affected the economy of this country, Mozambique. We know that there had already been challenges with the fragile economy. About 62% of residents living in this country are living under poverty. There's also a high unemployment rate. Some are even saying that it is at about 70% unemployment rate, and a lot of that is affecting a lot of young people. So we saw a lot of young people actually turning out just to protest and express their dissatisfaction. But now joining me, Iman, to speak about some of those challenges, including the closing of the borders, is Economist Elcidio Bashita. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today, just to speak about some of these challenges. As I've already indicated, the economy of Mozambique has already been fragile. Speak to us about the economy post the elections. Where was it standing before the elections?
Well, I want to thank you for the invitation. And before responding to the questions, I would like to express my dissatisfaction with the violence which is being perpetrated by Venancio Mondlane himself and his supporters, which is not good for the social economic development of the country and is unacceptable. There is a need to condemn this kind of action, since this is not the proper way of doing politics in modern politics. So there is a need to urge Venancio Mondlane and his supporters to stop at once these actions, and there is a need to look for dialogue. So the government of Mozambique, through the president, Filipe Jacinto Nyusi, has opened the doors to find ways in order to have a dialogue with Venancio Mondlane and his supporters, or his associates, Podemos, and so on, which is the political party that supports Venancio Mondlane. Insofar as the economy is concerned, it's important to highlight that such a situation affects adversely the Mozambican economy, in the sense that it compromises the perfect mobility of people and merchandise from one point of the country to the other. And this situation, on the other hand, it jeopardizes the objectives of the businessmen of all types, since the companies, the enterprises have closed the doors and workers are not able to leave their residences in order to go to work, which means that the productivity and production of the public sector and private sector remains at a huge disadvantage, which means that if the strain on the economy continues, there will be inflationary pressures within the economy, and it will affect adversely the poor and the middle class. So the consequences are so much severe, and if such a situation continues, it will undermine the performance of Mozambican economy.
Just speaking about the continuation of this unrest, we've seen them dragging on for weeks now. Which particular sectors have been mostly affected? Yesterday, when the protest happened, we saw that bus operators, taxi operators could not operate. They were prevented from operating, but also some of the stores as well were also closed down. So which sectors in the Mozambican economy have been most affected by these protests?
There is a wide range of sectors which are being affected by this crisis or these protests, but we can highlight the transportation sector as well as the tourism sector, which are being severely affected because of this situation. And according to Mozambique's Confederation of Economic Association, per day, because of the protests, the country loses almost 1.4 billion meticais. And if we multiply by 10 days, so we had 7 days last period, and first we had 1 day, and the second phase of the protests were 2 days. So in total, it's 10 days. So we can say that the Mozambican economy has already lost more or less $200 million, which is too much, or it can even be higher than that number. Actually, it's not easy to statistically calculate in terms of number the losses in the economy, but we can estimate that more than 200 million United States dollars have been lost because of this situation. So it affects, like I was saying, businessmen of all types, and it also affects the informal sector. So the informal sector is the dominant sector in Mozambican economy, since it employs the vast majority of the population. We're talking about more or less 7% of the active workforce, which is employed in the informal sector. So if the situation continues, so people will lose their jobs, people will suffer because of starvation, and such a situation can also increase the impoverishment of the population of Mozambique.
Okay, thank you so much. That is Dr. Bashita there, Iman, just talking about some of the impact that these unrests here in Mozambique have had to the economy. He says that it has affected especially that informal sector that employs the majority of Mozambicans in the country, and he talks about an amount of over $200 million possibly being lost as a result of these protests that have basically spread across the country over about 10 days now. So we will continue to speak to the economists just to find out what can be done and what other effects have been caused, especially by the closing of that border post, Iman.
Junior Kumalo, thank you very much. And we'll